Today, we are exploring a country that refused to accept drought as destiny. Located in one of the driest regions on Earth, Israel built a massive water system that turned scarcity into surplus. Pipes, plants, and planning changed everything. Here is how they did it. Israel is a dry country by default. Heat dominates the calendar. Rain arrives late, leaves early, and rarely lands where people actually live. For decades, drought was not an emergency. It was the normal condition. And for a long time, it looked unbeatable. In many parts of the country, entire years could pass with barely enough rain to refill reservoirs, let alone support growth. People learned to live with rationing, with public warnings, and with the constant awareness that water was always running out somewhere. That reality shaped everything from early settlement to national policy. Most of the rain falls in the north, while demand lives in the center and south. Summers stretch endlessly. Rivers shrink. Aquifers recharge slowly. Even in good years, water arrives unevenly and unreliably. In bad years, it disappears altogether. This imbalance meant that survival depended not just on how much water existed, but on whether it could be moved, stored, and protected from waste. From the very beginning, water was never just a resource. It was a national problem that demanded national solutions. The breaking point came at the turn of the millennium. Between 1998 and 2002, Israel experienced what officials later called the worst drought in a century. The Sea of Galilee dropped to historic lows. Aquifers were pumped faster than nature could refill them. Water shortages reached roughly 500 million cubic meters every year. For the first time, the country faced the real possibility that taps might one day run dry. Public campaigns urged citizens to shorten showers and limit household use, but officials knew conservation alone could not close a gap that large. The crisis exposed how thin the margin truly was between stability and collapse. This crisis did not come out of nowhere. Israel had always known it was living on borrowed water. Population growth after 1948 multiplied demand almost overnight. Early leaders spoke openly about the danger. Some even imagined moving water across the country before the state itself fully existed. But vision alone was not enough. Something massive had to be built. That something became the national water carrier. When construction began in the 1950s, the idea sounded almost absurd. Water would be taken from the Sea of Galilee, which already sits below sea level, then pumped uphill and sent south across the country. Not around the desert, through it. At the time, this was not just an engineering challenge, but a political gamble. The system required enormous investment from a young state with limited resources and no guarantee that future rainfall would justify the effort. Engineers designed a system of canals, tunnels, reservoirs, pumping stations, and filtration plants stretching roughly 130 kilometers. At the heart of the system was elevation. Water had to be lifted more than 200 meters just to begin its journey. From there, it flowed through open canals, underground tunnels, and massive pipes until it reached central Israel and the Negev. Along the way, it passed through one of the largest filtration facilities on the planet at the time. Engineers monitored pressure, flow, and purity constantly, knowing that gravity alone would never forgive mistakes. Pumps worked day and night, lifting water against physics itself, turning raw geography into something predictable for the first time in the region's modern history. What made the carrier remarkable was not just its size, but its coordination. Every segment depended on the next. A failure at one point could disrupt supply hundreds of kilometers away. For decades, the system operated as the backbone of the entire country. When the carrier was completed in 1964, it changed the map. Farms appeared where rainfall alone could never support them. Cities expanded confidently southward. For decades, this system carried the country through dry years that might otherwise have been catastrophic. But it came at a cost. Heavy pumping altered natural flows, and the Jordan River slowed to a trickle. The Dead Sea began to shrink, losing roughly a third of its surface area over several decades. Sinkholes appeared along its shores. What saved one part of the ecosystem strained another. Water had been moved, but it had not been created. By the 1990s, environmental warnings grew louder. Scientists cautioned that reliance on natural freshwater at this scale was unsustainable. The system that once symbolized resilience now revealed its limits. It didn't take long before the cracks started showing. Demand kept rising. Climate variability intensified. The same infrastructure that once symbolized independence now felt fragile. When the drought hit at the turn of the millennium, it exposed a hard truth. Even the most ambitious pipes could not solve a problem rooted in scarcity itself. Eventually, that realization forced a pivot. Instead of moving natural water around, Israel began making new water altogether. Desalination had existed for years, mostly as a niche solution in places like Eilat. It was expensive, energy-heavy, and politically risky. Critics warned it would lock the country into unsustainable power use. But others argued that the sea offered something rivers never could: reliability. This debate played out publicly, with some fearing dependence on technology, while others feared dependence on rain. But thankfully, the drought tipped the balance. In 2002, the government made a decisive call. Large-scale desalination would move from experiment to strategy. Plants would be built along the Mediterranean coast, each larger and cheaper than the last. Reverse osmosis technology improved rapidly. Costs dropped. Output soared. The Ashkelon plant opened in 2005 and instantly rewrote expectations. At the time, it was the largest reverse osmosis facility in the world. Others followed quickly, including Palmakim, Hadera, Sorek, and Ashdod. Each facility represented a shift in mindset. Water no longer depended on seasons or geography. It depended on infrastructure, maintenance, and energy. By the early 2020s, desalination supplied the majority of Israel's drinking water. Today, roughly 85 to 90% of household water comes from the sea. What was once dismissed as unrealistic became routine. Water no longer depended on rainfall, it depended on planning. Crucially, desalination changed how the national water carrier was used. Pumping from the Sea of Galilee dropped dramatically. Instead of draining natural reserves, desalinated water flowed inland, allowing ecosystems to recover slowly. The carrier did not disappear, but evolved. But desalination alone did not end drought vulnerability. Something else mattered just as much. What happened after water was used? Israel quietly became the world leader in wastewater recycling. Nearly 90% of treated sewage is reused, mostly for agriculture. In many countries, wastewater is something to discard. In Israel, it is something to circulate. The largest system sits south of Tel Aviv. Wastewater is treated, filtered through soil, stored underground, and then sent to farms in the Negev. This process relies on time as much as technology. Water moves slowly through sand, emerging clean enough for crops, but safely separated from drinking supplies. So crops grow not from rain, but from yesterday's showers and sinks. The process is so reliable that much of the desert agriculture now depends on it entirely, as it is a system built on patience as much as precision. At the same time, irrigation itself was reimagined. Drip irrigation, developed in the 1960s, delivered water directly to plant roots. No spraying, no flooding, just precision. Farmers used less water, less fertilizer, and got higher yields. What began as a local fix became a global standard. Together, these choices reshaped the entire system. Water was no longer a single-use resource. It became a loop. Desalinated water entered homes. Wastewater left them. Treated water-fed fields. Natural sources were preserved rather than exhausted. Mekarot, the national water company, tied it all together. Thousands of installations. Pipelines linking sea, city, desert, and aquifer. Its role shifted from simple distribution to active management, balancing supply in real time based on demand, climate conditions, and environmental thresholds. Real-time management across sources that once operated separately. Before long, water stopped being something Israel reacted to. It became something Israel controlled. And the results are striking. Total water supply now approaches 2 billion cubic meters each year. Desalination provides roughly half of that. Recycling supports most agriculture. Natural freshwater sources make up a shrinking share, protected rather than mined. Per capita renewable water remains extremely low by global standards, yet shortages no longer define daily life. Droughts still happen. Heat waves still strain the system, but panic does not follow. Where previous droughts triggered emergency meetings and public fear, modern dry spells are absorbed quietly by reserves and planning. The difference is not the weather, but a new level of preparedness. Even multi-year dry periods pass without a crisis. Israel now sends water to Jordan under long-standing agreements. It supports agriculture that once seemed impossible. Homes run taps without counting clouds. This does not mean the story has a perfect ending. Desalinated water still lacks certain minerals, raising health questions that require monitoring and supplementation. Energy demand remains high, tying water security to power generation. And the Dead Sea continues to decline, reminding everyone that not every consequence can be engineered away. Still, something fundamental has shifted. Drought used to be an unavoidable fate. Now it is a manageable risk. Israel did not defeat nature. It learned how to plan around it, price it, recycle it, and prepare for its absence. This transformation unfolded over decades, shaped by failure as much as success. But it worked. So the lesson here is not about geography or politics, but is about scale and commitment. When scarcity is treated as permanent, solutions stay small. But when it is treated as solvable, systems grow bold. Israel built a massive water system not to impress the world, but to survive. And in doing so, it proved something quietly radical, that in the modern age, running out of water is no longer just about rain. It is about choice. And that's it on today's episode. Thanks for watching. What do you think of this water system built by Israel? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more jaw-dropping automotive content. Until next time, bye.